गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुना तीरावन्यचारि यमुना तीरावन्यचारि राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुना तीरावनचारि यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपीजना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजना वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुना तीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे जय राधा मुरलीधर श्री राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय गुरुदेव कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। Thank you all for joining. I welcome you all. Welcome to our series on Rethink Your Life, Lessons for Daily Living from Bhagavad Gita. This is our session number 13. Who is God? Does he care? Why should I care? So last week we saw Does he care from 4.7, Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, verse 7. Today we'll continue with Does he care, and we will also discuss on why should I care, and we'll complete the discussion on this particular topic, and then next week onwards we'll move on to our next topic. Why is this material world created? I think that's the topic, next topic. Yeah, how and why this world is created. So that is the next week we'll start discussing on that. So before beginning, as always, let us offer our obeisances in the form of the prayers. Last week I had asked that if any one of you would like to volunteer to read the prayers, it would be great. Anyone wants to read the prayers? They are right here in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. And even if there are any mistakes, that is fine. Anyone wants to read?
I can read, Chintan. So the first 8 lines, right?
Yeah, here, and then we'll continue this with this one, and then we'll do this,
Okay.
and here. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I can try. Okay.
Sure.
Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnanananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Tapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Swa Padantikam. Do you want me to read the stanzas too? The paragraphs?
You mean the translation?
Yeah, translation. I did the first 2 prayers actually. Or
yeah, you can do this directly one day. And translation, okay, you all can read from the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. That is your homework. All of you can read.
Okay. Okay, I can move further. Okay. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam I'm sorry. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Raghunandan Vidam Tam Shajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vidam Cha. Is that right? I did.
Yeah.
Okay. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Padma Priya. So prayers are done. So let's jump on to today's discussion. So, like always, we have two things. Every session, I am just telling you two things. And if you accumulate these two things, at the end of our discussion, you'll have many things. Even though it's going to be a 1 hour discussion, but at the end, if you take home these two things with you, that is going to be success. First is nature and goal of material world. What is the nature and goal of material? And what is our true home, sweet home? We're going to discuss on that. This is going to come as part of our discussion of does God care and why should I care? So these are going to be the byproducts of that discussion. So last week we discussed verse number 4.7. Let's do 4.8 today, and we will also do 4.9. So today 4.8 and 9 will read verse and the translation. Purport is very big purport of both of this text. So I encourage you all to read it on your own and contemplate on it, and then we can have discussion. So I'll read once this 4.8 and then I'll read 4.9. Anyone wants to repeat, they can repeat after me. I'll ask after I recite. I'll ask anyone who wants to repeat. So 4.1 is परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे. Translation: to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principle of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. The previous verse that we saw was यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानम् अधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्. So whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of religion, at that time I descend myself. So in that also Krishna is saying the same thing, that I am coming whenever and wherever there is decline in religion. And here also he's saying, okay, what do? I deliver the sadhus and I annihilate the miscreants. After coming here, when do I come? Whenever there is a decline in religious practice. And what do I do after coming? I deliver the pious and I annihilate the miscreants. That means I kill the miscreants. And after doing that, I reestablish the principle of religion. And the next verse is 4.9. It is both of these, actually the 4.7, 4.8, 4.9, these are very famous shlokas. And we were talking about memorizing these verses. If you could memorize 4.3, 4.6, 4.7, 8, 9, these 5 verses out of the 9 verses that we have discussed, that would be great. And 4.9 is Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities do not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So here Krishna is saying, what is the fruit of understanding me, understanding Krishna, and understanding activities? He says, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance. and disappear, and activity does not, upon leaving the body, upon leaving this material body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. That is the fruit that we get out of this. Coming back to our presentation, now how 4.8 and 4.9 will come in between, I'll discuss on that. So, yeah. So, here are two pictures, and we are saying God cares. So, we say God cares based on so many things that are going right. So, what is the evidence and reason we say that God cares or God doesn't care? God cares meaning there is so many things provided by God. The sun comes on the time, moon comes on its own time. If you sow a seed, a beautiful tree or flower or a plant comes out, gives us nice fruits or flowers. Even though the soil, the earth doesn't has a typical taste of it, but the fruits that we get, the vegetables that we get, some of them are sour, some of them are bitter, some of them are chili, spicy, some of them are sweet. All that the earth doesn't have in particular that taste, but the plant or the fruit we get has that taste. Everything is so very well organized. There is water available, there is sun available, there is air available to breathe. So using this, we can say, okay, God is caring for me, He's providing for me every now and then. Actually, we are all dependent on God for for the smallest of the small function that we do, but we do not realize that. So God cares for us. But again, one may ask a question: if God cares for us, then why there are so many things that are going wrong? Why God doesn't care for that? Like there are some terror activities that are going on. There is a pandemic currently going on. There are earthquakes. There are floods. There are hurricanes. There are tsunamis. Like that, wrong thing is happening with people. Now also there is something wrong going on in the world anyway. So I wanted to ask you all, can you give me any one of your personal example where you can say, okay, God cared for me. He cared, he saved me. Is the question clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you give me one example, Padmapriya, your personal example where you can say, yes, in this situation, God did care for me.
Um, okay, so this is what I feel. So when I have completed my studies, I was actually so I was the person who came college first with 90 percentage, and I'm a university rank holder. But unfortunately, I was not able to get placement in the first few companies. Due to that, they only like so it is not because that I did not do well, but yeah, I'm just lacking the few analytical skills, and they were like picking up only this much percentage. So in that percentage, I was not able to come up. So like 5 percentage or like 3 percentage, only like 6 7 percentage only they were like picking up in the first few interviews, and I was not able to come up in that those for I mean for in the shortlisted list for those companies. Now, I have been waiting for a long time for the other interviews as well. And finally, around like 700, 800 students have been placed in my college, and I didn't get placement in the first 6 months. And like the last interview that I attended was like Accenture LLP, and yeah, I got the placement. That was the first company that I cleared my analytical exams. I mean analytical written test, and I got through, and I got placement in that company actually. So actually, I mean before going for the interview for this company, I actually gave exam for MBA. I mean if I did not find anything else, then like let's we go for the higher studies, and I cleared the exam too. And this was the last option I had, and this is the last final company that has come for the university exam. I mean for that batch. And I with high confidence, and like after praying to Lord Vishnu, like I've attended this interview and I was able to get through. And I felt blessed that like he really cared for me, and he has answered my, I mean all the efforts that I have put in the preparation of the for getting into the job, that has been successful in my last attempt. It does not although like it does not happen in the first few attempts, like I was able to actually get the placement and get the job in the last attempt of my try. So that is the incident that I can tell, that he is always like caring for me. Maybe like the effort that I put may not be efficient, or like it is not enough for the sum of the times. And in the last time, the effort that I put also had like it was up to the mark, and then like I was able to get the result with his blessings. So that is one of the incident that I can tell.
Okay, great. Anyone else has anything to share where they think, yes, God saved me?
I can share, Chintan. With me, I remember when we had, I think it was Irene. I could be mixing the Sandy or the Irene time when we had those hurricanes. And one of the times, I just like before my trip to India, I would always save my vacation and, keep the 4 weeks together and then go to India. So I don't know how, but ironically, just 1 week before this thing happened, I traveled and I was in India, and this whole hurricane thing came. It wasn't really predicted the time when I was traveling. So I was in India. I sort of, like for that whole month while the hurricane was happening here, I know my roommates and my friends who lived in Avalon Cove took pictures of the boardwalk. There was no electricity. The path had shut down completely. I just felt like, all of that thing, I kind of escaped in a way. It wasn't pre-planned. But yeah, I mean, that I can, it's just pure coincidence. Yeah, so that comes to mind. I mean, there's plenty others, but that comes to mind.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah. I think it was Sandy at that time, there was electricity outage.
I think Sandy, yeah, I'm just confusing. I think Irene was later. It was Sandy, probably the one where it was for a month. It was really.
It was in the month of October, November, and I remember I also was not having electricity for 15 days at my home. So yeah, glad you saved out on that. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, all my roommates and everyone was, sending pictures and saying, oh, we are like all sitting by one charger unit and charging our phones. And, it was tough time. It
was $5 to charge, just to charge your mobile.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Padmapriya, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was like just remembering the one incident that happened in my life in the 2015, like flooding in Chennai. Luckily, like the PG that I lived has like gone inside the water actually, and I was living in the second floor, and like I was able to pick up only my certificates and run away, and then like I was able to get out from there, and then I was like rescued by one of my colleague, and like he took me along with he took me along with him to his home, like where it was like it is not like the home is not in the underlying region, and the PG that I lived was like still like in the lower region, and that is why like it was flooded. And I have I mean, unfortunately I lost all my other things actually, but I was able to only save my certificates, and then I was able to run along from there. So that was like one of the thrilling incident that has happened in my life in 2015, when Chennai was like completely flooded with water in the rains in the month of like November and December actually. So it took longer time for the restoration process actually. 4 or 5 months after only the water actually like subsided. Yeah, but it was like one of the thrilling experience that I had in life actually, and God really has saved me and helped me out to come out of that critical situation, and I was able to reach my parents' place within like a week of time from my colleague's place actually.
Thank you both, Sona and Padma Priya, for sharing your experiences. Now, some of the people, there are arguments saying God doesn't care, because if he was there, if he was caring, things won't go wrong. There wouldn't be murders, there wouldn't be rape, there wouldn't be this pandemic, there wouldn't be forest fire. So if he cares, why is there so much calamity around us? So what are some of the things that people tell to justify that God doesn't care? Any one of you wants to give it a try? And what are some of the things people tell to justify that God doesn't care? May I know the name of a person who's displaying his iPhone, or you dropped? Okay.
Okay, so one thing that I can tell is like during the natural calamities, right? Yeah, we feel that God really doesn't care, and when we are in the critical situation, nobody's there to help us to bring us back to the normal situation, or like we are not getting any further, we are not able to take any further steps to come out of the situation, na? So that time like we feel that God doesn't really help, and like so we'll think that what we did not do for God and why he doesn't help us. So those kind of situations, and like we really need to understand that it all happens based on our karma, and it was that situation is that it is our karma that we have been caught up in the situation. And once that time passes, it's a matter of time, right? So once that time passes by, like we may get help from people, or like we may get something will strike in my mind to come out of the situation actually. So that is like one of the situation. And second is like when we are in a position where we have to lose our life, we will certainly feel that God is not helping us. Say for example, like if we are like meeting with any accident, or like so there are situations like where we met with the accident also, like we might escape actually. So like with only like little injuries. And like there are situations like where we have to be admitted in the hospital, and we have to undergo surgery and all those kind of situations. Like we'll certainly think that God does not help us in those situations. And when we are sick, or like when we are infected, or like when we get some diseases within our body, we will certainly think that God is not helping us.
Yeah.
So those situations I can tell.
Thank you, Padma. So I think I've shared this in past, but I remember one incident that happened in my hometown. A person, one of my neighbor died. He left his body, and when my mother or some relative went to their home to offer condolences, at that time they saw the daughter of the man who just died. She was throwing away the deities at the home, telling, "No, God, no, nothing is there like God. This is all just stories." And so when in difficult times we tend to think and there is no help, God, are you really there? Are you there or not? I mean, are you listening? Are you there or not? Or if you are there, why are you not answering? Why are you doing or sanctioning such things? One may question this, and that brings us to this dilemma, that Bhagavad Gita is all about dilemma, where Arjuna also had his own dilemma, whether to fight, not to fight. And in chapter in this instance also we are seeing there's a dilemma. God cares, but there are instances where we see that there's so much thing is wrong, happening bad, and God, are you really caring about this? So let me share my screen again and we'll dive deeper into this. So yes, I'm just showing two verses from Bhagavad Gita here, just to share with you that how God cares. The first point, which is how God cares, and this is just two shlokas where Krishna is like practically claiming everything. In chapter 7, verse 4, he says, Bhumirapo nalo vayu khamma nor buddhi evacha ahankariti yamme bhinna prakriti ashtada. So he says, translation, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. All these eight constitute my separated material energy. Boom, there you go. In two lines, he claimed everything: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now you think of anything which is not coming from this. Practically everything belongs to Krishna. He just claimed everything in two lines. Your even the mind, intelligence, and your ego also. This is just coming from my separated material energy. So now saying about her experience, her not having to experience Sandy, but I experienced Sandy storm, and water was scared at that time. And even though it was winter time, there was no hot water available. Even though the water would come only once a day, once in a day for 1 hour, and in that 1 hour you need to store it. And so water is such one important thing that is so important. Just think about it. Krishna taking away all the water or all the air or all the fire, taking away earth, where would we rest on? Where would we stand on? So he practically claimed everything in just two lines. And this is just to make us realize that we may think there is a one-off incidents where he saved us, he didn't save, he saved or he didn't save. But if you realize practically every moment he's saving us. Think about he retracting all the air that is available. Who is providing air? This corona pandemic. There was a millionaire or a Santander Bank owner that died, and his daughter read a statement after the Santander Bank owner was in Spain and he died there, and he said, uh, everything a wealthy person should have, we had it, but everything money could buy, we had it, and the thing air which is free, that my father couldn't take, and money stayed at home. So money can do buy some things, but whatever is free also, God is giving air free for us. The oxygen cylinders, there are so much shortage about oxygen cylinders. Now you realize the cost of oxygen, which we get freely. It's no tax on it, no charges, no service charge, no packaging charge, no delivery charge. This is to just show that how God cares. And then again in chapter 7, text 8, he says, Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi sasi suryo pranavah sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham drishu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantra. I am the sound in ether and ability in man. Again in two lines, he is claiming everything. Rasoham apsu kaunteya. I am the taste of water. So whenever this is some small realization, small thought, how to think Krishna in your day-to-day life. Whenever you drink water, you can say, thank you, Krishna. Thank you. This is because of you I am drinking. taste of water is Krishna. So you can remember Krishna, like how to remember Krishna in day-to-day life. Prabhashmi Sasi Suryo. Whenever you see sun, sunset, sunrise, or sun in throughout the day, and beautiful moon, when you see full moon, today's 13th day there will be 2 more days to full moon from now. So you can see the full moon, how beautiful it looks. It calms down the mind. What he says, the light of the sun and the moon. I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon. He says the syllable Om in the Vedic mantra. All Vedic mantra injection starts with Om. And sound in ether and ability in man. So again, our dependence, our Krishna, how he takes care of us is again practically is very clearly mentioned in these verses. And this is just 2 verses I've quoted. Bhagavad Gita is full of such revelations. So then it brings us to this dilemma, Gita's resolution to dilemma. There is a dilemma here now. What is the dilemma? Okay, on one hand, we see God caring for us. I showed you some verses also from Bhagavad Gita. And then there is this thing that God doesn't care because things are going wrong in this material world. There are so many bad things happening. So this is the dilemma. And how does Bhagavad Gita answer this dilemma? So Bhagavad Gita says that this material world which we are comfortably staying here is not our home. It is the hospital. Material level of reality is hospital. This is a hospital where you have come for correction. There are some diseases in you because of which you have come to this material world. To rectify those diseases, to cure those diseases, you have come to this material world, which is the hospital, and the spiritual world is the real home. So Krishna says that this home that you are comfortable here, you are saying, no, I'm happy here, everything is good, everything is fine. This is not your home, this is a hospital. But your real home is not here, it's back home in the Goloka. So Goloka is the spiritual world where Krishna is living with Srimati Radharani and his mates and his devotees. But in material world, Krishna comes, he still comes with time and again whenever there is need. So one may say, what is the nature and goal of hospital? So we may be very comfortable staying in this particular material world. People may think, if you ask some people outside, are there any sufferings? Many people may say, no, I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm fine. I do not have any problem in this world. But there are sufferings in this world. Even though you do not have any problem, but there will be 4 problems that is going to be there with you always: birth, death, old age, and disease. And why are these part of this material world? Because this is a hospital. It is supposed to cure you, and that suffering is not the goal of this hospital. To provide you suffering is not the goal of hospital, but suffering is the nature of the hospital. So no matter how plush the hospital is, how clean, neat and tidy the hospital is, although it is very neat and clean, people do not like to stay in hospital. They want to come out of it after some certain time. They want to come out of the hospital. Although all the necessities, all the facilities are provided. There are doctors to take care of you. There are nurses. There are beds. There are bathroom. There is proper light. There is food also provided in the hospital. All those things are there. But one is not supposed to settle in the hospital. They are supposed to leave the hospital and go to their home. That is the purpose of hospital. But we people are getting so accustomed to the hospital, we are not even making a plan to go to our home where there is no suffering. But in hospital, there is suffering also. But it is not designed to give you suffering. It is, let's say, someone really had a really bad accident and they cannot go to the restroom. So then pipes are injected to their rectum and their genitals to pass the stool and urine. They may be bed patients. They cannot take bath. This is a suffering they have to go through, but the hospital was not designed to specifically give you this suffering. It is designed to facilitate your cure. And as soon as you are cured, you go back home, back to body. So see, there are two D's of the hospital. There is design and there is distress. That I was just talking about. There is a hospital bed. There are a team of doctors to take care. But there is design there, although there is all the facilities provided, but there is distress also. Distress meaning you may be operated. A doctor may come and do some surgery on you. You may not be able to move. You may have certain food restrictions. You may not be able to bathe daily. You may not be able to walk. All these things you will have to go through. If you are healthy, why would you go to hospital? If you suffer something, if you have some physical problem, then only you'll go to hospital. But it was not designed to give you suffering. Suffering is the nature of the hospital. It's not the goal of the hospital. The distress is something is actually the nature of the nature of the hospital. Then one may say, okay, what is my disease? Tell me my disease. Why am I here? Our disease is forgetfulness of Krishna. We have forgotten our real nature. Our real nature is to love and serve Krishna. We all have a spiritual identity. We all have Krishna as our Supreme Father. We were there in the spiritual world. But again, we said that no, enough. I am done with this. I want to have my own world. I have to have my own set of people on which I'll rule, and I need to have my own space. Give me some space. So Krishna said, okay, that space I cannot give you here. I cannot make you center here, but I'll create a material world for you. You go and make yourself God there. So there is this, we are here, the disease is the forgetfulness of Krishna. And due to this disease, what we think is this home is the hospital. This hospital is our home. We make the hospital as our home, but home is not, the hospital is not our home. Actually, it should be like this. Make that correct. Hospital equals to home. Yeah, that's good. So the disease is, we are saying hospital is our home, but hospital is not our home. Then what is our home? Home is equals to Golok Vrindavan. The place where we saw in Brahma Samhita, I'm not sure if I showed you, where the Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma gives this description that in Golok Vrindavan, the eternal abode of Lord Krishna, every step is a dance, every word is a song, and every stone is a touchstone, Chintamani, Prakhara Sadmashu. Every tree is a Kalpavriksha. Beneath that tree, if you go and you say, okay, I want to serve Krishna with a lovely, a wonderful, fragrant garland, Kalpavriksha will directly give you a garland. Take that garland and give it to Krishna and Radharani. So this is the disease. That is why there is still suffering in this world, because The nature, why do we see suffering in this world is because this world is not our home. This is hospital, and the nature of hospital is suffering, but the goal is not suffering. Suffering is not the goal. Suffering is the nature of the hospital. That is why Bhagavad Gita offers this solution, that offers the resolution to this dilemma like this, that this is not your home, this is a hospital. Then this is the resolution. Again, further elaboration on this. In 4.7 Krishna, 4.7 and 8 Krishna says, I descend, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. So Krishna comes from the spiritual world here. He takes avatar, different avatar, and he comes into material level of reality. And then he gives this association to his devotee, he performs his leela, and then he goes back. And what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So Arjuna, so tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. So after leaving this body, you will never come back again to this material world. So we are supposed to ascend ourselves by knowing Krishna. Krishna descends himself so that he tells about himself. He basically descends to this material world. What gain Krishna gets in coming to this material world? This is like a ghetto to him. Golok Vrindavan, the eternal place where which is described in Brahma Samhita, it can never even come closer to what this material world has to offer. But he still comes to associate with his devotees, to take back all the fallen souls, so that, and speak about himself, so that we can have a discussion like this, perfect our relationship, and go back home, back to Godhead. So he descends, stays in this material reality, so that we can ascend. So if you understand this particular slide, it will clarify most of your doubts. Understanding the point of why there is misery in this world. If God is there, why there is so many bad things happening? That and this. So this is describing 4.7, 4.8, and 4.9 in just one slide, where he says, I descend whenever there is fallen religion, and paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. And then if you understand about me, about my appearance and my activity, then you, naiti mameti Arjuna, then you will not come to this material world. Then you will ascend. Where I'll go to my eternal abode. Will come to my eternal abode, Golok Vrindavan. So does God care? He descends to guide and guard us from making things worse in this world, and for raising us beyond this world. So 4.8 says, he comes, he descends to guide and guard us from making things worse in this. So today we have a material body, we have a human body. Tomorrow, if we do not act carefully, next body we can get a dog's body, a hog's body, a cat's body, a snake's body, a bear's body. Who knows what? There are 8.4 million species of life. We can go in any species of life. So to guard us from making things worse in this world, meaning making things worse for ourselves. We are not supposed to make things worse for ourselves. Ignorant people that we are, we may end up making things worse for ourselves by doing some prohibited things. That's why he gives Bhagavad Gita, the law book, the manual of life, that these are do's and don'ts. And if you ever want to come to me, read this book and make yourselves back on the way back to me. And what would happen if you do these things? You will come back to me, he says in 4.9. So surgically precise information is provided in Bhagavad Gita. Why it is surgically precise? Surgically precise is, first of all, what does surgically precise mean? Surgically precise means it is accurate. It is very accurate, because whenever doctors perform surgeries, there is no scope for making errors or mistakes. Like, I always consider, thank God I'm not a doctor, because I'm a software engineer, and my code sometimes have error. What if I've made a mistake, something wrong while operating on someone? If I would have been a doctor, what would have happened? In software, you can make errors. There will be errors. You have an emergency code fix. That's all. At the maximum, you will have emergency code fix. There will be an outage for a couple of hours. Then you'll have a fix. That's how the software industry works. But doctor, no scope for error. It is life or death for that other person. So that accurate, surgically precise information is provided by Krishna. Why it is surgically precise information? Because it is by God himself, Krishna himself, who is the designer of this world. He is providing this information. So it has to be surgically precise, rather than some XYZ person telling about God, Krishna, that he is like this, he's like that. He said, okay, I'll make your life easy. I'll come, I'll descend, I'll talk about myself. I'll create a magnum opus like Mahabharat. People watch Mahabharat, but what is the point of Mahabharat? Why Mahabharat was created? This magnum opus, so many characters, such a big budget, so much violence, so much politics, all this tactics that were applied, different tactics. Why was this created? Because at the climax, Krishna wanted to give this crown jewel, which is Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because it has the surgically precise information about perfecting our life. And we have only this human form of life. For most of us, half of our life is gone. There is not much to give. Only the last half of our life is there. So now is the time to act. Now is the time to become steady. Now is the time to become serious in the spiritual practice. Then that takes care of why does God care or not. Now then we come to the second part of question. Why should I care? So one may think that, well, I have a good job. I'm a big software engineer in a multinational company. I pay my bills. I get. I'm independent. I have my home. I have my car. I have all the facilities in life. Why do I need to care about God? I can get my needs and desires fulfilled without God. Then fulfilling our needs and desire doesn't bring fulfillment. How many of you agree? Can things buy you happiness? Anyone? Can things buy you happiness?
Sorry, Chintan, what was that? I'm not able to understand your question.
So I was telling that why should I care about? Now we are in the third part of the question. Why should I care about God, Krishna?
Why should we care about God?
Yeah, one may say that I am a big software engineer in a company. I have a car, I have my home, I'm paying my bills, I'm taking care of my family. I'm good. I'm fulfilling, I can get my needs and desires fulfilled without God. So the question comes is, can we fulfill our needs and desire, or can things fulfill our need and desire, or can they provide us fulfillment?
No, that provides whatever the fulfillment you are talking about. It is for the body actually. So it is not soul related, right?
Correct.
Soul, yeah, soul has to actually depart this material world and it has to reach, it has to be like, it has to join with Krishna's soul actually. Because soul is part of Paramatma. So whatever the fulfillment that we feel here, it is for the body.
Mhm.
So like, yeah, so it does not like, it doesn't mean that like we are fulfilled with like whatever we have. I mean, although like it is there, na, so it is all given by God only for surviving in this material world. So without God, yeah, nothing happens.
Thank you, Padma.
Fulfillment in the sense, to me, the fulfillment of the soul is very important actually. I would say the fulfillment of the soul happens when it reaches its place. That is like Krishna's abode.
Yeah, Krishna's abode. Yeah, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Jivere Swarup Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. So the nature of the soul is to be the servant of Krishna. That is the nature of the soul. We have a relationship with Krishna. Krishna is a supreme personality of Godhead. We have our own individuality, and like we have discussed in past, like Mayavadis philosophers are there. Their idea is they want to merge into the supreme Brahman. Brahman is the light coming out from the body of Krishna. They want to merge in that body, but that is not the correct consciousness. That is not the correct expectation from the soul. Because Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, he says, my devotees, they are always singing about me. They are always glorifying me. And that is how he wants different relationship. We saw in earlier classes, we saw there are different rasas that Krishna exchanges. There is Vatsalya ras, there is Dasya ras, there is Sakhya ras. Different rasas that Krishna wants to engage with us. So there is an individual identity. We have our own individual identity. Krishna has his own identity, and his identity is that he is the supreme personality of God. So yeah, then why should I care? The world cannot fulfill our longing for lasting happiness. We all have this hankering for happiness, to be happy 24/7, 365 days. It cannot be fulfilled by anyone, anything in this material world, or any person, or people will give you stressful time. Things will not give you happiness. So all that is there. But then a question can come: can it be ever fulfilled? What can be fulfilled? Can I be ever happy? Ever happy eternally? Then the answer is yes, by understanding that God is not the fulfiller of our desires, but the fulfillment of our desire. So this is the golden statement that you can meditate on today. But we need to understand God is not the fulfiller of our desire. He is not an order taker that, okay, I want this, I want a big house, I want they sing, right? Janam, Dhanam Dehi and Putram Dehi, all that. Different artis are there. Vidya Dehi. God is not that fulfiller of our desire, but He is the fulfillment of our desire. Make Him the object of your love. Make Krishna as the center of your love. We want uninterrupted happiness, uninterrupted supply of happiness. Krishna, this material world cannot provide that. Like we are talking about Sandy. In Sandy, there was no electricity for 15 days, and we were thinking, oh gosh, when would the electricity come? We wanted uninterrupted electricity. Similarly, there is a need for uninterrupted happiness, eternally lasting happiness we want. But if you go on looking for happiness in things, iPhone cannot buy you happiness. Neither can a costly laptop. All this cannot buy you happiness. But Krishna can give you eternal happiness. Then why should I care? Again, God descends not just to bring order to our world, but to bring us to His world. So He descends. See, this is the picture of Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna and Radha and Krishna are performing their eternal pastimes. And there are some associates with them. Similarly, we also have in this picture somewhere, we also have our position defined. But we have lost that connection for now. And that's why we have come to this material world. So why should I care? I should care because by knowing Krishna, by understanding Krishna, I can make my way back home, back to Godhead. So that is the need for me to know Krishna. That's why I should care. That's the crux of this discussion today. So what is the conclusion? Understand that God is not the fulfiller of our desire, but the fulfillment of our desires. Make Krishna the center of your life. And Yasmin Tushtam Jagat Tushtam. If you water the root of plants, you don't have to water each and every leaf of the plant. The nourishment reaches to each and every part of that leaf. Similarly, if you put the food in the belly, the nourishment reaches to the hand, nourishment reaches to the legs, everywhere the nourishment reaches. If you satisfy Krishna, you automatically get satisfaction. If you satisfy Krishna by loving him, by serving him, you also get satisfaction in return. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk about today is how to practically make Krishna center of our life. One of the small things that you all can start if you are not already doing, some of you are already chanting also, so that is good. One more thing to add is whatever you eat, try to offer something to Krishna daily with a tulsi leaf on it. Do not offer anything with eggs, fish, or meat. Do not offer anything with onion and garlic or mushroom. If you made some rotis and you made some dal, offer that to Krishna and say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 3 times you say that, and then let Krishna honor it for some time, and then you can mix it with your food and then honor it. So that way, this is called bhoga offering. And then once you do bhoga, what we get is the prasadam. So your food becomes prasadam. This is how one small thing makes Krishna as the center. One small thing to add into your daily routine. If possible, try to do this, because in 9.6, Krishna says, and I can show you here, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam. Let me open it. 9.26, he says this. So he says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Uprahatam Ashnami Prayatatmanaha. Very simple. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I'll accept it. See, that's how easy it is to please Krishna. He's even ready to accept a leaf also. What to speak of leaf? He said, I'll eat flower also. Give me flower. At least give me something. Water, at least give me water. So if you do not have anything, at least give him water. Then slowly go from there. Does it make sense to everyone, or Is it too much?
So Chintan, I have to share, about a couple of months or maybe a few months back, I used to, like in a katori, basically take a little bit of everything that I have for my food and I would put it by the temple. So, like the temple at home. And I just thought that, I would just keep it there, like lunch, say, all the time in the evening. So I ended up like throwing the food then because it used to get like, out in the air and stuff. So I said, instead of doing that, the plate that I'm eating from, that itself I will offer. And so just before I take a meal, I always do that. Um, so that's been a part of, I don't know how, but maybe because I joined the group or whatever, I became more conscientious. I've been doing that. But I I think I should probably just wait. Like you said, bhog is basically you leave the thali or the plate there for a little bit. That I don't incorporate. I just like I'll offer the food and I'll sort of eat it from the same plate, but I'll incorporate that sort of patience and adding some more time to it before I actually eat. So that is
Yeah.
a part definitely of my practice. The one point I want to go back to was making Krishna the center of your happiness. I will tell you, I know Padma Priya was also talking about, like we are all here just to make our souls happy and find that satisfaction in whatever it is. And I feel for everyone that if we all reflect and contemplate, there is certain areas of life that you get gravitated towards or you get pulled towards. They may or may not be devotion, and I feel it then becomes even more. It's our responsibility then to not get drawn by, because all the other areas really besides devotion are all either work or something to please your senses or whatever it is, but it's anything outside of devotion. If we have to pull ourselves back to bhakti and then to God, I feel like those areas of our soul that we've probably, it's become a part of our nature that we keep getting gravitated towards, and we spend a lot of time or percentage of time in those activities. It's like getting conscious and maybe trying to remove ourselves from those and then consciously bring ourselves more to devotion. Because I feel, at least for myself, I can't say for everyone, I don't think I'm balanced. I feel like a lot of my energy, a lot of my time, I mean, right now I'm sick. I have a eye thing going on with the inflammation, but I know if I was to, now that I have the time to reflect the entire year, with COVID, I've spent 10 to 12 hours working on a screen, which means essentially about 70 to 80% of my energy just goes on work, which is really not needed of me. And so I do feel like, getting that balance back in life, it just helps to know that you have to pull yourself towards devotion and make that the center.
Hmm. Okay. So how is your eyes now? Is it recovering or what's the situation? Are you
So
able?
I've been put on steroids. So first it was just topical steroids in the eye. Now they're giving me medication as well. So the vision for me is still hazy. It's still blurry vision, and I've been told it's going to take a few weeks. But when I saw the doctor last week, he said he didn't see any inflammatory cells on the eye, which is clinically it's a good sign. But like for me as a patient, I still can't see everything clear as before. So I'm just holding on, being patient.
Hmm. Okay. We pray for your speedy recovery.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, so first point that you mentioned about offering food, yes. What you can do, what usually should be done is a separate plate, a separate bowl, separate spoon should be there for offering to Krishna. And there should be a tulsi leaf that should be offered. If you have a tulsi leaf plant at your home, you can pluck the leaf, one leaf, and with the permission of Tulsi Maharani, and hold your hand and ask her, "Oh, Mother Tulsi, I need one leaf to serve Krishna. Please give me one leaf." That's how you can ask Mother Tulsi to give a leaf. If it is not there, then you can offer the leaf in your mind. And if you typically should have one set of plate, bowl, and spoon for dedicatedly for God. You put some food stuff, like you have someone coming at your home, you will serve them in a plate. You can serve them like that. And while Krishna is honoring the prasadam bhoga, at that time you can sit with him for 5-10 minutes. You can read one verse from Bhagavad Gita with purport, and couple of verses you can read from Bhagavad Gita. You can read it to Krishna actually, as because we don't want, when we eat something, we want someone's company. It's not like we just keep it and go. If possible, try to sit with him. If not, then just keep it and take it after 5 minutes. But ideally, if possible, sit with him for 5 minutes. That is the time you are providing to Krishna. He's eagerly waiting for all of us throughout the day. Oh, now he'll come to me. Now he'll come to me. As soon as you come near to the temple, he says, "Oh, okay, now he or she is going to really come to me." But we turn our back. Okay, oh, he gets upset. So he's been waiting there since time immemorial. So yeah, try to spend time while he's honoring the prasadam. What was the point you were trying to make? I didn't get that, Sona. You were trying to make a point earlier before going to your eye stuff, right? Can you just summarize that?
Yeah, I think it was a very long-winded answer just because now I'm off of work. I'm not looking at screens. I have time to actually think because you had mentioned in our class today that our focus essentially should always be towards devotion, right? That is the ultimate source of happiness, none of the materialistic things. In my head, I feel like even the work that I'm doing, and I end up doing way much more than that's needed or required. And for some reason, that is like everybody's karma is different, right? I feel like that is where my karma takes me or I gravitate towards. I end up spending a lot of time just on work related stuff, which is a good 70 to 80% of my energy. So then exercise or meeting friends or socializing, well, COVID also changed a lot of things, but I feel like there's that core area that I gravitate towards. So then that becomes, whether it's materialistic or whether it's work related or if it's for whatever reason, but that is where I end up spending more time. So that means I'm not giving enough time to devotion, to friends, to emotional needs, to all other things, right? So when you say making devotion the center and making that the source of happiness for your soul, I feel for like myself, for example, I think that's a very conscious effort because that will not come naturally. I have tendencies and habits that are formed over the years. So for me, that is trying to pull myself and trying to make myself understand that ultimately the source of happiness is through devotion, and it's not by killing myself working. It's going to be, I think it will take time. It's just, how you form habits and they pull you in that direction. So it's going to be a very conscious effort.
Yeah, slowly you have to make progress, and that is why 3 steps program we are launching, and I'll speak about it in couple of minutes. But yeah, conscious effort we have to make to drag ourselves towards Krishna, because this mind and intelligence, this mind is so corrupt. Anytime we make a plan to go to Krishna, it will say, okay, do this and then go. Do this and that is the job of mind. That is the job of Maya, to make sure that only interested people, only serious people go to Krishna. So mind will always oppose. And anytime when you say that I do not have time for this, I do not have time for that. So whenever you say time, you replace that with priority. So say that chanting, I do not have time for chanting. You can, if this is the sentence, you can say chanting is not my priority right now. Then it always replace time with priority, because time is there, 24 hours are there. We need to see what is our priority. So based on that, we need to align our schedule.
Thank you. Both points well taken. And I will, I find it the way you describe Krishna, you almost talk about, you're in a sitting in a dining table and sitting with a family member, you wouldn't want to leave them alone eating food. So absolutely makes sense. The one thing, Chintan, you said, if I don't have a tulsi plant, then what do I do?
You offer the tulsi in mind. Okay, Krishna, I do not have tulsi plant with me, but I'll be grateful if you accept this. And if you like, if you happen to visit near Journal Square, I have some manjaris with me. I have some small tulsi plant. Also, if you want, I can give you that.
Okay.
I gave one yesterday, not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I gave one to Neetu. She joins on Sunday batch. So
Okay. But the other thing I had heard, I could be wrong, but somebody was saying that tulsi is like supposed to be kept in the angan of the house, but really apartment ke andar you should not be keeping. And maybe this is um
no, I haven't heard anything of that sort. Tulsi should be kept in the home. There is a separate class that can happen on the glories of Tulsi, because Tulsi is so merciful. She is the coordinator of service in the spiritual world. So we actually sing Aarti for Mother Tulsi daily. Even touching the Tulsi and touching the soil on which Tulsi is there, that can even liberate one from so many sins. So Tulsi you can keep in your home. Like you see in back, I have Tulsi.
I see that. Yeah.
I have some
Beautiful.
lights there that I'll just turn on the light after some time. So this winter time we need to take a special care of Tulsi. Yeah, but it can be kept in the home as well. I've
Okay.
seen
Thank you.
people keep that in their home. Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other points anyone wants to discuss? Yeah, so offer the food you eat to Krishna daily, as if you can. If not, then make it a practice to start with one day, once in a week, twice in a week. Slowly you increase. Like that you can do.
I do twice a day, and I do Naivedyam twice a day, and 2 times Aarti at my home.
Wow, wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Very
So I cook like 1 time only. I don't eat breakfast. It is always tea, and then I cook by 12 or 11:30 like that, and then I offer to Krishna, and then I eat by like 1:30 like that. And in the night I always like either it will be like milk or some lentils, some like white chana or like black chana or like beans, something like that, or sometimes veggies like. Boiled like sweet potato or boiled carrot, so like that in the night. And like more afternoon it is always like rice and then sabji and then like sambar.
Yeah, so when you offer, you sit with Krishna for some time, let him honor the prasadam. You read him something from Bhagavad Gita, or you sing something for him. You sing Hare Krishna for him. Do something
Yes, I
for
do.
him to
Yes,
entertain him
chanting.
while he's honoring. So,
Yes, I do chanting, and like morning it is always like only like within 10-15 minutes, but evening I do for 1.5 hours. I read all the stotra, Vishnu Sahasranamam, Narasimha Sahasranamam. So a lot of all the stotrams related to Narayana, and then I do for Lalita Devi I do Lalita Sahasranamam in the evening. So it will be like 1.5 hours from like 6:30 to 8 or like 8:15 like that. It is my prayer time. Actually, 6:30 or 6:45 to 8:15. So I always spend that 1.5 hours like for God only, like for chanting, for my chanting. It is my chanting time. And then post
Padma
that,
Priya,
yeah, post the
I'm
chanting,
so
it will be
sorry.
like I offer food and then like aarti and then I wind up my day.
Oh my God, Padma Priya, you need to be friends with me. You need to change my routine.
Okay, sure. Sure,
Oh
I
my
think
God.
Pooja, right? Pooja or Sona?
Sona.
Okay, yeah, we can do it. No problem, Sona. Yeah. So like I always block the time for God because and like in fact, right, if somebody takes my ownership and gets all the things that I do in the material world by themselves, right, I will be happy to give them, and I'll be sitting in front of Krishna for the whole day and reading all
Yeah,
the stuff.
I mean, Amazing. I like the fact that you've like blocked the time, it's like a one-on-one भगवान के साथ, you like have your time blocked. It's not कि अच्छा मुझे ऑफिस का काम करना है तो मैं ऑफिस का ही काम कर रही हूँ, it's not like that. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So I always I always close my laptop by 4:45 or 5. After that, no laptop, whatever the work may be. It has to be done offshore by only. I will send them a note. That's it. Like I normally close up by 4 only. After 4, it will be like handover time only. So like I conclude like the offshore will be taking care of that, because I don't want to be into the all the everything we cannot do during onshore hours. So I don't want to take that burden. So let them do it. That's why I always hand it over, and then I close my day by 4:45. After 4:45, no laptop actually. So then I make tea, and then I take shower by 5:45 or 6 o'clock like that. Then I sit for puja for 1.5 hours or 2 hours of time, whatever I feel like today I have to do this. Then I'll do the chanting actually. And then this Maha Mantra is also one in the evening time I do it. But morning times due to the calls, right, I will not get more time, but I will sit with him for only 10-15 minutes. I'll be when I'm offering the food to God. That's it. But evening time is my time for God actually. So that is how I manage.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Sona.
Thank you, Padma, for sharing. So, two more things I wanted to mention. I'm not sure if you all noticed my name is different today. So my name is Giridhari Govind Das. So last week's on Sunday, I got initiated by a ISKCON sannyasi, His Holiness Indradutta Swami Maharaj, into the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. He formerly accepted me as his disciple and gave me shelter under his lotus feet. And he gave me this wonderful, amazing name, Giridhari Govind Das. So that is one thing I wanted to share with you all. Let me. Okay.
So how do we address you now? How do we?
You can call me Giridhari Govind Das.
Okay.
If that is too long for you, you can call Giridhari Govind or Giridhari or Govind, whatever suits you.
Is it the name given to you, Chintan?
Huh?
Is the name? It is the name he has given to you, and he made me a disciple. He made you a disciple of him.
Yeah, let me actually show you the video. Actually, I have the video. I'll pause the.
Congratulations.